New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello, hi, it's me, Bonnie. Yes, Bonnie Morgan Gonzalez, your doula for grief. As I say each Monday that we gather, I am a grief coach, a registered nurse, a religious science practitioner, and soul collage facilitator, all wrapped up in one sweet package. And here today, just to continue our dialogue around grief. And knowing that loss is what leads to grief. Loss is what we experience, and grief is what we feel. And I must say today, I am in grief around all of the events that are going on in our world today. Starting with another murder of a young African-American male by the police. Women losing their rights to choose, to make choices for their bodies and for their lives. The overturning of Roe versus Wade. And then the mass shootings on 4th of July. I am with you when you shake your head and say, what is the world coming to? And we need to, this is collective grief. We are all grieving these losses together. And collective grief is to be shared. Collective grieving requires collective mourning. We mourn together, we come together and express our outrage, our sadness, our disappointments, whatever it is that we feel, we need to express it and we need to have it witnessed by others. And my show today is around ritual and how rituals can help people grieve. So I thought, with that said, I wanted to start with a heart healing meditation that you could make a ritual, that it can become your ritual. Anytime that you feel overwhelmed by the conditions of current events, even conditions in your own life. Because as I mentioned, with these atrocities that have happened just in the last few days, we still have our ongoing lives that are presenting us with different losses. So knowing that, yes, this is a lot to hold, cumulative, collective grief, it is. But I am here as your doula for grief to offer you some tools to help you move through this grief. And knowing that this is a place that you can come to share, that you can come to share your feelings. Please feel free to drop a comment in the comment box or a question. Or you can send me an email and we'll put that up on the screen a little bit later. But for now, I would just like to bring us to a place where we can get grounded, centered, and focused, and bringing our energies in and back to ourselves. And that is the purpose of this heart healing meditation. When we connect with our heart, that's where we connect to have compassion for ourselves. When we connect with the heart, that is how and where we can connect with our fellow brothers and sisters, and just mankind. So know that doing this meditation is not only healing your heart, but contributing to the healing of the hearts of others. So thank you. I want you to just get comfortable. Just kind of move your shoulders, wiggle your bottom maybe on the chair, and just reconnect. Just reconnect to what's holding you, and also reconnecting to this moment, knowing that we're having a shift, just a shift in our bodies and a shift in our consciousness. So I just want you to start by taking a deep breath. You know, the breath always alters and shifts and moves our level of consciousness. Just taking a deep breath and arriving to this moment. And after that breath, just place your left hand on your heart and place your right hand over your left. And take another deep breath. And allow that breath to go into your heart. Allow yourself to follow that breath into your heart. With each breath in and out, allow yourself to go deeper into your heart. Now, allow your heart to do the breathing. With each breath in and out, feel your heart expand. As the breath gets deeper, the heart gets larger. With each breath out, expand that energy of the heart. Expand it further and further outside of your body. Allow it to fill the room that you are in. Now allow it to fill the building that you're in. Now, allow that heart energy to fill the town or the city that you're in right now. Now allow that heart energy to fill the province or state that you're in. Keep moving this heart energy out, knowing that other people are doing this, and they are also doing the very same thing. And the heart energies are commingling and becoming stronger as they meet. Continue this until your energy has circled the earth. So now your heart energy has circled the earth and extends beyond, out into the cosmos. Continue that. Continue feeling that heart expansive energy. Just allow yourself to feel that energy. Yes, you are that energy. That energy is not outside of you. That energy is you. It is a part of you. All of the other people that are doing this energy work are surrounding you, because we are all one. Now slowly, with the next several breaths, bring your heart energy back. Bring it back into your body. Know that at any time you have the power to open and extend your heart energy out beyond your own chest. Just take a few minutes to just bask in the afterglow of that heart expanding energy and meditating on that energy. And just know that this is always available, always. You can make this as long as you'd like it to be, or as short and to the point as you would like it to be. But just know that it is effective. That already the blood flow to your heart has increased. And noticing just how you're feeling before this meditation and to how you're feeling now. So just slowly let your energy and your attention come back into the room. And we're just going to take a little break so that we can really breathe into that. And we'll be back with my special guest to discuss.
New Thought Radio, music from all your favorite New Thought artists. From Jamie Lula, Karen Drucker, Gary Lynn Floyd, Ricky Byers, Daniel Nahmod, Eddie Watkins Jr., and many, many more. 24/7 New Thought Radio. Positively inspiring.
Hello. Thank you. And thank you for participating in that meditation. And thank yourself. Thank yourself for loving yourself enough to participate in something that brings relief and calm. So this week, my topic is the healing power of ritual. And I just have the most beautiful guest and just beautiful friend. Her name is Judith Roberts, and she's a licensed practitioner with the Centers for Spiritual Living. She has been certified in a number of healing modalities and is a sound healer and a student of shamanism. By profession, she is a corporate trainer, instructional designer, and technical writer, and currently works remotely from her home in Oakland, California, where she lives with her nephew and her cat, Ozzy. Judith has, long history of volunteer work and has included serving as an instructor for her teacher, Prem Rawat, serving as a class mentor for the late Angeles Arian, singing with the Threshold Choir, participating in sacred music presentations with the Golden Age movement, and speaking on Wednesday nights for the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. She enjoys hiking, swimming, traveling, concerts, and singing. So please join me in welcoming my special guest to the show, Judith Roberts.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Oh.
It's a pleasure to be here and an honor to be your guest.
And Judith and I both got the memo, the blue and white memo. So we're both blown away that we're matching, color coordinated and matching. Oh, so welcome, Judith. And I just want to let our audience know that I had talked with Judith about this particular theme, and she happened to have actually lived through an event that she used healing to bring about some relief to her grieving. So, Judith, if you would like to tell us how you use ritual to heal. But before I say that, Judith, I think I want to just say a little bit. I know that you have studied with Angelise Arian as well and talked about her feelings about rituals. And if you wanted to share something, and I have some words that I could share around ritual, and then maybe moving into your beautiful heartwarming story.
Okay, yeah. And I actually have Angelisa's Fourfold Way book open because I thought I'd like to quote her and read a few quotes because she talks about ritual and she took us through many rituals. And you
said, no, and wasn't she an anthropologist? Was that her main title, anthropologist or
cultural anthropologist?
Right. Right, studying different cultures and rituals. Oh.
Yeah, and she studied indigenous cultures, and she brought indigenous knowledge to Western people in a way that was relatable and understandable without co-opting anyone's traditions or she was very culturally respectful. And so so this book, The Fourfold Way, she calls it Walking the Paths of the Warrior, the Teacher, the Healer, and the Visionary, and it's a synthesis of many different cultures and many practical tools in it.
Okay.
Yeah, so she has a section on ritual, and you mentioned in the beginning, Bonnie, about how grief results from loss. And she mentions 6 different kinds of loss. And I'm going to talk today about one of them. That's the experience I'm going to share. But she talks about the 6 kinds of loss as being loss of attachment, loss of turf, loss of structure, loss of a future, loss of meaning, and loss of control. And she says that many shamanic traditions recognize that ritual helps people deal with loss. And she quotes Combs and Holland saying that the word ritual, in fact, comes from the Indo-European root, which means to fit together. And it's related to such words as art, skill, order, weaving, and arithmetic, interestingly. All of which involve fitting things together to create order. And all societies have rituals around marriage, birth, initiation, and death. And that ritual is the conscious act of recognizing a life change and doing something to honor and support the change through the presence of such elements as witnesses, gift giving, ceremony, and sacred intention. In this way, human beings support the change they are experiencing to create a way to fit things together again. So I think we can all relate to that. And we've certainly all experienced the power of ritual in marriages and births and deaths. And she also mentions initiations. And I was thinking, well, what's a common type of initiation that maybe we all experience? And I was thinking of graduations.
Yes.
Graduations, like I just attended my goddaughter's graduation for a master's program. And I thought, well, that's an initiation because now once you've graduated, you're prepared for a whole new career in life, a whole new life path. So that would be an example, I think, of a ritual around initiation. We don't think of it that way normally, but that's really what it is. That whole ceremony around graduations and being witnessed.
Pomp and circumstance, and
yes, yes.
Even weddings. I mean, weddings. That's what that is. A big time of celebration.
Yeah.
And I wanted to add this to that, Judith, for ritual. It's like a symbolic activity that is performed during or after a meaningful event in order to achieve some desired outcome. And since we're talking about grief, we're talking about alleviating that. But when you're talking about the graduation, it's more like a celebration of an achievement, an accomplishment that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to add that to your share, and especially thanks for the graduation. That's a milestone.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So I want to share the circumstance around which I did this ritual that Bonnie invited me to speak about. I was engaged to someone in Ecuador who was an indigenous person and there was so much distance between us that we had a hard time. I mean, there were lots of space and time between our visits with each other. But I became engaged to him, and we couldn't find a way to get him to the States. So I would go back and forth to Ecuador, and there came a time when his communications became far and few between and a little sketchy. And, I just kind of wondered what was going on, and he wasn't direct with me. So I asked common friends what they knew about it. And it turned out that he had taken up with another woman during our engagement.
Right.
And didn't tell me about it. And I had to find out about it, third party. And basically what happened was, just without ever formally breaking off our engagement, he broke it off. and I finally then had to just formally break it off. And I was heartbroken. I was grief stricken and heartbroken. And it was because I had opened my heart so wide, and it just didn't end well. And I needed help. I just was very much struggling with this grief. And I did reach out to friends and family, and friends and family helped me. But I also got some advice from a type of counselor.
Yes, I was going to ask, did you reach out for?
And this who said you need this is what he said. He said it's as if you've been carrying a baby for 9 months and the baby's stillborn.
Wow.
And he said you need to go to a funeral. You need to have a funeral for this stillborn baby. And I really thought that was profound. I took that to heart. And so this is where I created my own ritual, because I needed closure, and I wasn't getting closure from my ex-fiance. The closure wasn't coming from there. It had to come from within me. And so based on that advice, I created a ritual. And I went out to a flea market and I bought a baby doll. I bought a brown baby doll, and that was really the size of a baby. And I used that baby doll as the metaphor for my engagement. And I took the baby doll home, and in my backyard, I had a site where I had buried a cat. It was like a little a mini graveyard, and I decided to do a funeral, to bury this baby doll ritually.
Mm-hmm.
And I did this whole ceremony. I dug a grave and I wrapped it in beautiful cloth, and I put special things in, things that represented the relationship
Yes,
was
yes.
now which was now over. I was burying the relationship. I think I put special stones
Yeah.
and and maybe some messages, and I know I just made it very beautiful, the way you would
Mm-hmm.
when you're at an actual burial, and maybe flowers, and I think I said words, and I don't know if I included music. I don't think I did, but and then I buried the baby
Right,
in
right.
this grave. I made a grave and I buried the baby, and and that was very healing for me, because the actual act of ritualizing a closure, ritualizing the loss, physically, the physical embodiment of it is really important, because all of this is in our bodies, the feelings,
Yes.
and the ritual can help process all of those feelings that are in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So I buried the baby, and I think it was, it still took time, as it does with grief. It takes time, and grief comes up whenever it does. It comes up at unexpected times, and
Yes.
sometimes you think you're done and you find out you're not done.
It's
And
just the beginning.
it can take time, and we have to give ourselves that time and allow that time and space, and just accept the process as it is, because it's individual, and it's different for each one of us, and it's different for each loss. For each loss that we're processing, it's different. Um, and so, I one thing that I think, in retrospect, with other rituals I've done, I've had witnesses. I remember when I buried my cat in that same place. My niece and my cousin were with me, and my niece dug the grave, and friends, and we did words, and we did. I think we did some vocal toning, but I didn't have any witnesses with
Mm-hmm.
me. This ritual, it was solo. Um, and that's the way I did it, and that was fine, and that did help me process it. But I do believe in the power of witnessing, and
Yes.
think that witnessing, just as we were talking about at a graduation or a wedding, and at a burial, at a death, we always have warmth there, and we have friends and witnesses who are kind of holding the space with us for
Mm-hmm.
the ritual. And we also ourselves can be in service to other people as witnesses,
Yes.
if we're invited. It's such a delicate time, that invitation is important. You don't just show up. Usually you receive, because it's a sensitive time, and we're such sensitive beings. We're so tender. And
Mm.
so this loss, that's how I processed this loss, and it really did help me. It really did help me, and that advice was, it was precious. I took it to heart.
Yes. I was just going to ask, Judith, you're talking about having it witnessed, and with any of our big life events and things that happen, especially traumatic events, having it witnessed, having our stories witnessed, help to dispel that energy. But I was going to ask, there was something about, or do you feel, it sounds like this was the loss of a relationship. And in a loss of a relationship that's not through death, because so many people have said that it is, and I don't think I want to say it that way. So many people feel that it is harder to have a loss of a relationship through divorce or a breakup than if the person had actually died. Because when there's a death, there's a finale that we lean into embracing and knowing that we have to let that go. That person is not coming back. But when it's a relationship, I've heard people say that, oh, it's so hard to know that they're still living their life, or you hear a story about how they're doing now and they're married with, 5 wonderful children. Do you feel that that came into play at any part? And was there any embarrassment or shame around it? That's what I'm getting to. That some people feel, oh, I can't really, like when you talked about having it witnessed, bringing people in. Was any of that related to any type of shame around?
I think I did feel some shame around it. But I don't think that's why I didn't invite people, because I did include my family members were involved in my process and did give me a lot of comfort. And I did talk with them about it, but I was very selective in who I talked to
Oh,
about.
of course, yes.
And I remember, yes, I did feel some shame around it. I had to process that too.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. That's an interesting thing about shame. It's like, why am I so concerned about what somebody might think? You know, I love the saying that
Other,
what you think of me is none of my business.
or what other people think about you
What,
is
what other people think of me is none of my business.
right, right.
But we do take that in, and I did at that time. Yeah, I remember that. That's a good question, Bonnie,
Well,
because there was one group that could have really helped me, which was Threshold Choir. They sing for each other and for people who are suffering from loss.
mhm,
Usually it's around death, but it's also other occasions. But I could have received so much support from them. Um,
mhm,
and I was involved with them at the time, but I didn't tell them.
yes.
I didn't bring this forward and ask for a song or ask for prayer with them. Because their songs, they're like singing prayers. That's
Yes,
what
they
their
are.
songs are. They're like singing prayers, and they're comforting and they're healing. And I didn't ask for that, and I didn't talk about it. And I think it was because I felt some shame,
Yeah.
like I didn't want to open myself that wide to this whole situation that had happened. So that was a good question, Bonnie. Very, very insightful.
Um, well, I have 2 points, and so I'm getting to the. I'm so involved in the story, just really feeling the emotion there. That I feel like I need to write my questions down. but,
Mm,
but
mm,
but here's one question I do want to ask. When you were talking about you did not invite people in for that ritual at that time, I just know that I have had recently a real loss that has been so intense that I needed to process it alone. That I
mhm.
could not. Wasn't that I was not. I wanted to be in isolation, and it was just so painful
Yeah,
that I needed to process that alone. I needed to be able to really just sit with it, um, to just sit with the intensity of it, and I'm looking at it, and even I'll use the word embracing it to say what is going on. And I feel like I couldn't do that with other people. And I do have a great circle of friends and have been able to share. So I was wondering, did you go through any of that? That it was such a intensity that you needed that time alone?
yeah, I think so. I think so. I think I just, especially maybe for the ritual, I just needed to do it alone.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we go through stages, you know.
And,
I mean,
and
grief is in so many stages, and there might be some stages of grief when you really need to be alone and process it alone, and then you might move into another stage when you want to be in community, and
right.
you want to include others or trusted friends and family, or a
Yes.
wider community. Yeah, so I think I did kind of evolve like that.
Yes, and you're so true because I do tell people that grief is to be shared. You cannot do grief alone. but it's just like in stages. And in maybe that initial stage, I know the initial stages of any type of loss, there is that shock. There's that stage of just shock that the conscious mind just can't come in and rationalize things away. So you're right, it does come in stages. And I do tell people that do reach out, don't do grief alone. But I do also want people to know that there's a part of that that is sometimes I feel just so sacred, and that it needs, I'll say, your undivided attention, mindful attention.
Yeah. There was, I'm going to share this. I wasn't intending to, but it just came up in the conversation. And I'm not sure where in the process this happened, but there was a point where I was in such deep grief that I felt so vulnerable and helpless. I felt like a child. I felt like a little, 3-year-old child, and I just was devastated. And I was with a friend. We were up in the redwoods when, you never know when this is going to come up, and it came up. And I had a really kind and loving mother. I had a really sweet, she was a kind, comforting, loving mother. And so what came up for me at that time when I was with my friend, and I felt like I was just reduced to a 3-year-old, just completely vulnerable and helpless. And I just reached out to her and I said, "Would you be my mommy?"
Oh,
and
that's sweet.
and she just held me, tears are coming out. She just held me and I just cried with her.
Yes.
She just helped me. She said, "Yes, I'll be your mommy."
Oh, and it's so beautiful.
Isn't that just sweet? Yes, I'll be your mommy.
Judith, that is heart heartwarming.
Yeah. So, you just, you when you're processing grief, you just, you don't know. But what we're trying to offer is tools. We're
Right.
trying to offer tools and ways, and ritual is powerful, and it can be done. It can be done alone, or it can be done in
Exactly.
community. Hmm.
Well, I just applaud you to give voice to what you needed, to be in touch with your feelings enough to know that that's what you needed. You needed a maternal nurturing, and to be able to ask for it and to receive it. And
Yeah.
that's what I encourage people to do. Really sit with it and say, "What do I need?" Just sharing my own experience about being in deep grief. One night, this was my ritual. I put some music on that I just love, and I allowed myself to just cry, just like you're doing now. Just
Mhm.
tears are so cleansing.
Yeah.
Tears can be cleansing. But I lit a candle. I put some music on that just brought up all the sadness, and I just cried. I cried myself to sleep. That was my ritual. But the next morning, I got up, I washed my face, I put on my most favorite dress, my most bright color, and just went about my day, knowing that I had honored grief, that I had allowed grief its space and place. And therefore, it was moving. As you said, it's in our body, and we're moving it out. We're moving it out. And I wanted to ask you about some parts of doing the ritual when you said you brought the doll and then the digging. Do you feel that that was a cathartic moving through your body as you were digging the grave for this?
That when I was doing what?
Or when you were doing the digging of the grave, preparing the
Digging
space,
the grave. Yeah.
was
The
that
whole
physical
mhm.
involvement?
The whole thing. The whole thing was all of it. Yeah. The digging of the grave and the wrapping in the beautiful cloth and all of it. All of it was important. All of
Yeah.
those pieces were important.
Mhm.
And I think returning something to the earth.
I was going to say, I know how connected you are to nature. So I was just going to bring that really in, bringing in Gaia, bringing in a gift to the earth. I was just wondering when, oh, you said you had some counseling, and that person said that it was like a stillborn or having been pregnant with a baby that wasn't viable. Did they give you any steps to planning your ritual? How did you, I want to know your process of deciding what it is that you needed for that ritual.
They didn't give me any steps. They just said you need to go to a funeral or have a funeral. And so I just took it from there
Right,
intuitively
right.
that this is a stillborn baby. So that was kind of a good metaphor, and I understood it. And so I went with the metaphor of the stillborn baby.
Mm.
And I had also, you know, I have never given birth to a stillborn baby, but somebody very close to me did. And I was called to the hospital, and it was
Yeah.
horrible, just horrible. I mean, because it was at 9 months, and
Mm.
they had to induce labor to a dead baby. And it's such a sad thing. And
That's
so I got the metaphor, because I had already had that experience with my friend, and so I understood what that was, what the stillborn baby was about.
right. And the reason I asked that, Judith, because if someone wants to plan a ritual, I just wanted to bring forth some ideas, but to say that the most important idea, the most important aspect of any ritual is the intention that you bring to it, the intention that you set when you go about planning it, starting it, doing the ritual. That is the most vital part, because I've had people say, "Oh, I don't know how to do it. I don't know." It's like first start with that intention, and as you said, your intention was to lay to rest this relationship. Is that
Hmm.
correct?
Hmm.
In
Yeah,
doing
my intention was closure. My
it,
intention was to close the door on this relationship, to
right.
finalize it. And a burial is pretty final.
Um, is there anything that you? Is there anything that anyone could have done or said that would have helped you at that time? Is there anything anyone could have done? I know you asked your sweet friend to be your mother and
Mommy.
mommy, not even mother, mommy.
Yeah.
Any
Uh,
other thing? Any other thing that if you had a friend going through the same thing that you would do now or say? What's your feeling on that?
um, I would just say to look at all of your resources. Look at all of the resources available to you that can help you heal. I just remembered another one where I did open up to community. It was a kind of a shamanic sound healing group that I went to in Oakland, where I went regularly, and it was all healing with sound. And
Mm,
they I guess I think I did express to them what I was going through, and they had me lie down on the floor, and they just did sound healing with me. It was intentional, like you're saying. It was with the intention of healing, and it was sound, it was vocal, it was instruments. It was really, really beautiful, and it was a spontaneous ceremony that they gave me. And then afterwards, the one of the leaders of it, who was a really beautiful being, really beautiful man, who was one of the hosts, he
mhm.
just he just held me. He just held me. And and it was just this feeling of strength and love and warmth and kindness and
Mm-hmm.
compassion. He just held me, and it was so beautiful. And
Wow.
after he learned more of the circumstances about this relationship, the broken up relationship, he said to me, now this is getting more intellectual, this is a little bit later, but he said, I think you dodged a bullet.
Ooh, yes, yeah.
And that was helpful.
Mhm.
It was helpful. It was helpful because he could see, and also my family members, that this relationship may not have been a happy one
Right.
ultimately.
But back in the initial phases that you couldn't see that part you couldn't.
Well, I mean, I had looked the other way. I had seen writing on the wall, but I had ignored it
Yeah.
because of where my heart was,
Yes.
So back to your question, is there anything? Can you rephrase your question again?
I'll rephrase it. I'll put it this way: if you knew of someone that was going through exactly the same thing you had gone through, what would you do for them? What would you say to them? How would you encourage them?
I would just offer them compassion and listen. I'd listen.
Yes. Yes. That.
Listen and not judge.
Exactly. That is the key. Just listening. Do you know Matthew Fox? He was
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he used to have something called a cosmic mass.
Yeah.
Did you go to one of those?
I did. Uh-huh.
Oh, he does the dia positiva and the dia negativa, where everybody wails and just cry together. I found that, I mean, I think he started with the spiral dance, and there was another part of it. It was really visually beautiful. And then he would do the negativa. And he would show, they had lots of screens all around the room, but it would show like the destruction to the earth, different losses, people in mourning, grieving situations, which really invoked in everybody there. And I did it at Grace Cathedral. It was just, people just really wailed and cried. And I remember him saying during that cosmic mass and that part of it, that grief is communal, that grief is to be shared. And I just remember being beside a young man who was just, Judith, wailing, just wailing. Hearing him made me even sad. We were like crying together, and it was okay. It was one of those times and situations that you felt the depth of how normal and how necessary it is at times to grieve. And then after that segment, there would be a segment that I call putting us all back together, and with, warm embraces, nurturing embraces, kind. You would walk up to each person with a kind word and an embrace, and putting that we could mourn together, and then we could heal together. And just hearing your story, how you did your healing, is helping someone else. So therefore, healing together again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's so beautiful what you said, Bonnie, and it kind of brings us full circle to that root word of ritual that says fitting things together, fitting things back together. It means to fit together.
Yeah.
So it brings us back full circle to fitting together.
And I'm going to bring it back to this quote from Angelise Arian. I hope you can grasp it. But she says, the seat of the soul is where the outer world and the inner worlds meet. And she says, ritual provides the bridge between inner and outer worlds and creates a content for reconnecting to the seat of our souls. The end result of all ritual are increased balance, strength, energy, and comfort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just really applaud you, Judith, and I thank you for coming on to share loss in a different way, loss and grief, because so many times grief is equated with death. And I always say death is the mother of all griefs, but to a loss of a relationship. So I appreciate that, because that is that's common in our society.
And loss of all of these different kinds. We may not experience all these different types of loss, but we all experience loss in our lives. In the course of our lifetime, we all experience loss. And so it's important to have tools to be able to, and we grieve those losses. And it's important to have tools in our toolbox to process the losses, process the grief.
Process the grief that was caused by loss and aging. Aging is definitely, I'm definitely aware of that, that aging is a loss as well. People that are, moving. I've had some major life moves. That's a loss of lifestyle. So it's not just death, and that's what I just so appreciate your coming on to share that, how devastating and traumatic the loss of a relationship.
Yeah, and in my case, a really common loss is divorce. Loss of and in the losses she has loss of a future. When you go through a divorce, you lose the future you imagined. And loss, and you just mentioned moving. One other of the 6 losses is loss of turf.
Yes.
You've lost the place you lived.
And a certain lifestyle that went with that.
Yeah, the lifestyle.
That lifestyle and comforts that can't be recouped so easily.
And I know we're close on time now, Bonnie, but I wanted to mention one more thing about loss of relationship that a different counselor told me about. Not in this context of this relationship, but it was in another different time. But it was something that stuck with me. And he said we have ritual around births and weddings and death. But we don't have ritual in our society. We don't have any ritual around divorce.
That's exactly my next note that I wanted to squeeze in before.
Go ahead. It's really profound. We do all this ceremony around the wedding, but no ceremony around the divorce. And we should probably learn to add that in.
Right, because there is such a high rate of divorce. Let's just be honest. This is a truth. This is a reality. So how would you go about having a ritual or some type of ceremony to mark that closure, that ending of that relationship, the new beginning, however you want to hold it, but honoring what was is more.
Yeah. That could probably be a whole new show.
I think so. I think that's the next, and maybe that's a business venture for someone. I just wanted to just offer these few little steps, though, Judith. I know we are close on time. I just wanted to offer these few steps if someone wanted to create a ritual, be it for that divorce, or you got the new cat, or you lost your job. That's another. The celebration of but ritualizing a job that was lost. And so I always say the most important thing in that ritual is your intention. What do you want that ritual? What do you want the end result of that ritual to be? What is that you're hoping to achieve? And so these are just some ideas. It's like when selecting activities for a more structured grief ritual, choose something that marks an opening and a closing to your ritual. Like you could light a candle, burn some incense, have some inspirational reading, you could do a prayer, sing a song, a chant, both Judith and I, sound healers, playing music, ring a bell. I said build a cairn. Do you know those cairns that you build from stone, that you use that as a marker? But clearly marking the beginning and the end of a ritual will help you transition into a different frame of mind as you open into your ritual, and then having a closing so that you can shift again and come back to what they call the mundane, or back to you. But just marking that and just knowing that there's nothing special that you have to do to create a meaningful ritual. It's what you bring to it. It's what you bring to it. Judith, thank you so much. Is there any other words that you'd like to offer before we're going to close with a little ritual?
I would just like to thank you, Bonnie, for inviting me to be your guest speaker, and also for having your show. I think this show is probably helping and benefiting a lot of people, and I know that people can view it after. They don't have to view it live; they can view it later. And I just think I just want to applaud you for doing this.
Thank you, Judith. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. And we could go on. We could share more. I do want to say before we close or do our ritual, I just want to say, please check the schedule of programs here on New Thought Media. Make a donation to New Thought Media so that we can continue to have meaningful, helpful programming, and just having that wonderful dialogue that we can all just dive into. And I want to say at 4 p.m., Gina Krupka is having the Peace Circle on New Thought Media. And also there'll be prayer time at 8:15 Mountain Time. And that's every day, 8:15 a.m. and 8:15 p.m. that there is prayer. Also, our wonderful friend, our mutual friend of Judith and mine, it's Zoe DeMoro. He has a new program on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Mountain Time called Choice, Your Creative Superpower. So just supporting those programs on New Thought Media. There's our Zoe. So yes, please check it out. Check it out. And with that said, I have a special thank you, not only to Judith, but today I did not have power and no Wi-Fi at my house. And my beautiful friend Megan came and fetched me in her car and brought me over to her house. And so I am in gratitude. My life is just so fortunate in that way to have beautiful friends. Thank you. And now Judith and I are just going to have a ritual. Judith, are you there?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Yes.
And I am ready as well. All righty. So this is just a ritual to honor each and every person that is tuned in out there, and my way of honoring you and holding you in the highest light with love. And so we'll start with this reading. To live in ceremony is the greatest and truest gift we can give to ourselves. And this meditation is written by Richard Wagamesi. And so, for you today, my friends, I raise sacred smoke. For you who are troubled, confused, doubtful, lonely, afraid, addicted, unwell, bothered, or alone, I raise sacred smoke. For those of you in sorrow, grief, or pain, I raise sacred smoke. For those who work for people for change, for spiritual evolution, for the upward and outward growth of our common humanity and the well-being of our planet, I raise sacred smoke. For those of you in joy, in the glow of small or great triumphs, who live in love, faith, courage, and respect, I raise sacred smoke. And in the act of all of this, I raise sacred smoke for myself. for Judith and for Mary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings.